What a beautiful time in the morning. What beautiful weather. What a beautiful forest that I'm in. I love this one so much. I'm just walking on the car park. Literally no one is here. So bless my eyes. Why are my eyes so red? It could not be a happier time to do my crafting gripes. Okay, the first is naming your knitting patterns after numbers. Sweater number 4, scarf number 18, top number 2. It's like you as a knitwear designer, as a knitwear pattern designer, have all of these names at your discretion. You are responsible to how they are called, and you choose Mark 4. Like, it sounds like a beta testing name or something like that. And I know I'm atting a particular designer right now, and I haven't knitted their designs. So can I really say it as my gripe? Of course I can. It's my video and it's my gripe. But it really annoys me, and it is frustrating when you're watching podcasts and people are like, this is sweater number 8, 9. I'm sorry, I can't remember. You can't remember because the name isn't cool, okay? The Aurora jumper, the Valhalla neckline, you know, like they're, in my opinion, they're cool. They're cool. And I would say it insists upon itself. Leave it there. Okay, number 2 then is the absolute war on acrylic yarn. Like, okay, when this is brought up, I won't be the first knitwear, or not knitwear, I won't be the first podcaster to talk about this, and I certainly won't be the last. But when people like hate on acrylic yarn, I'm just like, and usually it's one because they think it's a cheap material and it's squeaky and it's all that, and you know, why would you choose to knit your top or jumper out of that material? I'm a little bit lost right now because all the trees have been kind of cut down over there. Usually there's like a path right through here, but I know there is a path, but is that the way to go? Can we just do it? We just go, bro? Oh yeah, I found it. And then there's also people who hate on the acrylic yarn because they're like, you're actually knitting with plastic and it's actually really bad for the environment. Jessica, me knitting my own sweater with acrylic yarn is not the reason why the world is on fire. So you need to remember that and know that. And as well as that, I'll never stop knitting with acrylic yarn because I love to gift knit. I love to knit for others, and acrylic yarn is a really safe way to make sure that what I have spent ages making on isn't accidentally ruined because they throw it in the wash machine. Like, it's totally fine. So yeah, put that in your pipe and you can smoke it if you want to. Right, number 3. I love how I decided to do this when my battery was on like 20%, so we'll see how far we get on. It may be a part 2-er. My third crafting gripe is no schematic before buying. So a schematic is obviously when it gives you the measurements of what the armhole depth is, what the measurement is from the back to the neck, all that jazz. So some designers won't put this in their pattern, which is kind of sometimes annoying, because what if I don't want to pick up 80 stitches for the armhole because it'll be down to my freaking hip, you know? And maybe my arms are different. Like in sewing, you can at least like grade between the sizes. Whereas in knitting, if you don't have that schematic, then it's kind of harder for you to go between the sizes. But it annoys me when there's no schematic. But what actually even annoys me even more is that when you buy a pattern and then there's a schematic in the pattern after you've bought it, but that schematic wasn't a part of the pictures before you were browsing through and seeing if you should buy the pattern or not. If you have it, honey, why not supply it? I don't get that. It hasn't happened to me loads of times, but it did happen to me once before, and I just was like, what the fuck? And then I also discovered that the measurements were a little bit whacked, so they didn't fully suit me. So I was like, that was a waste of buying a pattern. The next one definitely comes from a place of jealousy. But in saying that, it still annoys me. still gets me gripe, and that is the knit a sweater with me in 7 days. That's not possible. And of course it's possible because like people do it and they have their finished object and after 7 days. But when I see those videos, I hold the screen, not interested, swipe. Because it makes me so cross. I'll never be able to knit a sweater in 7 days. And I think those videos are often really popular with people who don't knit because they think, oh my god, that's actually pretty easy. And it's not for me to be like, no, knitting is actually really hard and you should, no, it's not for me to be like that at all. It's kind of like, I just get frustrated with it because it is very fast fashion-y coded. That's very Gen Z talk of me to say that now, and I'm on the cusp of Gen Z, millennial. This is actually really handy having this here because in case someone's running up to me, I can be like, dodge. But yeah, I freaking hate those knit a sweater with me in 7 days videos. And again, I think if you know what I'm on about. So I'm not gonna say it. Next one is the model poses. So you see this, I've been scrolling through Ravelry, and then I just see like absolute models modeling the knitwear pattern. You know, lovely, great, it's a job there. I think Eddie Redmayne was a knitwear model. But it really, I'm trying to look at the freaking pattern and it's so difficult because of all these modelish poses where their back is arched and their arms are totally covering the sweater. And it's just, how am I supposed to know what the sweater will look like if the model poses are crazy? I always go off the project pictures instead because how am I supposed to know? Yeah, they're my crafting gripe because can we just have a simple view of your knitwear pattern, because that's what I'm looking for, the pattern, because I'm not going to be buying what you're actually exactly wearing. I'm going to make you my own version, and I think we need to take a leaf out of the sewing pattern pages and do a line drawing, because a line drawing is very nice to see so that you can map out the details and all that stuff. I've seen some knitwear designers do that and it is great. And look at me, I don't design knit patterns, so I'd be like, can you guys actually do this instead? And it's like, you don't even do that yourself because I don't actually do them. But look at the way that sun is hitting there, that's fabulous. Right, part 2.
Look ahead, the sea is calm, and I know we've been through a lot, but just wait.
It is a new day, but the crafting gripes remain. I'm gonna get some knitting done before work, and I'm gonna continue on with things that get my gripe. Another thing that annoys me is, and I ask myself this question, not a lot, but I should, and I should start doing it. Is it the yarn or is it the pattern? So what I mean by is like, is it the yarn that's totally singing to you, or is the pattern? There have been times when I've chosen a pattern and I've knitted it and I'm just like, and I really do think it was because it was actually the yarn that fooled me into thinking the pattern was this amazing sweater. I rarely ever knit something that it uses the recommended yarn, but something to keep in mind. And it just annoys me because I'm just like, oh, you fooled me again. So that's something that annoys me. Another thing that annoys me is what people say. So these are kind of directed at non-crafters, and if you're that's just my stitches hitting the radiator. If you're a crafter, you definitely would have heard this in your life, and I hear it literally every single time from a specific person. You should sell that. You should start a business with that. Have you ever thought of selling it? Yeah, I have, okay, and I am flattered, to be honest, I am flattered that you think that my work is sellable, but also I just want to enjoy my hobby. I just want to enjoy my craft. And I don't want to have to think about the fact that I'm like, oh my God, should I be monetizing this? Should I not be enjoying this? Could this be something that's like monetarily valuable? And it gives me just like, no. I just want to, at the end of the day, sit down and get stressed over knitting this freaking Timberline cardigan. Is that too much to ask? So yeah, it's the whole, you should sell that, make a business with that. And another thing then, and I actually only got this quite recently, it was like, would you ever consider making me one? Would you ever consider knitting me one? And it kind of floored me. I was like, oh. Sometimes people in my family do ask me that, but not everybody is knit worthy, and it's a crafty gripe of mine to even for you to assume that you think I'm gonna give you something, because I'm not gonna. As I said earlier, I do love gift knitting, and if you are a person that has received a gift from me knitting, just know that it's dear and you're dear in my heart, and I spent a lot of time knitting you that, and the fact that you don't wear it around me makes me sad all the freaking time, but it's okay. So the whole, will you make money off this, and also the one about, could you knit me that? Straight to jail.
Right to jail, right away.
Is actually one I hadn't on my list, but the fact now that I'm knitting, it's when people say continental is better than English throwing style. Now, I do an English throwing style, but I actually think I even do it and add an extra step. And I've had people be like, you know, if you would knit the other style, even continental, which was in this hand, and you pick it up like that, your left hand, and you would knit so much faster. And like, I'm well aware of that, and I can continental knit when I'm doing two color work. But this is where I want to be, and this is my preferred style. You not think I've thought about that? Straight to jail. So that was just like a random one for you. My next one is a really long yoke sweater. So I've knit a lot of the sweaters I've knit so far have been yoke. I think I only did like 2 raglans, and one of them didn't work out, and I ripped it back. I ripped it all back. And then the second was for my godson, and it was tiny, so whatever. But I have knit some yoke sweaters, and I just hate when the armhole is down to your freaking hips. Like, that's why I don't want to go back knitting the halibut sweater. I will go back and knit the halibut sweater because I have the colors for it, but it just annoys me. It's like, how are we picking up our arms if our armhole isn't here? It's actually down here. Really young yoke sweaters. And for all of you who are Irish, a yoke is this part of your top, is this part. It's not the yokes. Okay, actually going back to something that I hear loads when I knit in front of other people. My grandmother used to do that. My granny used to do that. Okay, do I know her? No. Like, wow, me and your granny share the same hobbies. How does one respond to that? What usually I do is it goes, oh, you're knitting? Yeah, just here knitting away. My granny used to do that. Oh, that's cool. How does one respond? The fact that I'm confused about that statement just gets my gripe. Okay, that's all. I'm thrilled that your granny used to knit. Why don't you now? My granny used to knit too, and I don't know if she really enjoyed it that much, because whenever I used to hear stories about it, it would be like, oh, she knit my granddad a pair of socks and then he wore them to work where like would be very mucky or whatever, and she was devastated because she was like, the freaking socks are destroyed. And then all like my aunts and uncles would be like, yeah, granny used to knit, and like, but I'm like, where are the jumpers? Where are the sweaters now? And they're like, oh, they're gone. And I'm like, never ever will I ever knit for you ever, because you do not cherish handmade things and just cast it aside. Like, no. So she did not knit in my lifetime. I did never see her knit. Next gripe is the Etsy pattern reviews. Like, what is going on? People can buy patterns off of Etsy, as everyone's aware of, and most of the time, like, the pattern reviews are, and it's not even like just for knitting, it could be for sewing, it could be for cross stitch. I see a lot for cross stitch actually, and it's just people being like, fabulous pattern, or it looks amazing, can't wait to start, or it was so fast to get to me, really happy. But it's not like people don't come back with their project then and showcase what they've made. And it's okay for knitting because usually they have like a Ravelry page where they just post, like they'll have like a Ravelry page where they'll just like post the project and you can find it from there. But most of the time it's with sewing, and it's very frustrating. The same goes for YouTube videos. I mentioned this last time in my DIY shirt dress rosary apparel video that I have a while back, and I said like it was frustrating to see like everyone in the comment was like, fantastic video, loved it, oh my god, I can't wait to try this dress, but no one had come back and been like, oh, I actually tried this Janelle and it worked really great for me, however this didn't work that great for me. I there's nothing I can do to change that. Well, there's nothing I can do to change any of these crafting gripes. It's just to let it go. But it's just something that frustrates me. I'm just like, what, can we come back as consumers and let people know of our experience? You know, if you're buying a pattern, once you've done that, can you come back then and review it and be like, guys, red flag, don't buy this? Or can you be like, guys, absolutely 100%, this is the best pattern I've ever made before. Share your opinion like I am right now. Okay, so the next one is a gripe against Ravelry. So I'm on the hunt to find really good yarns that don't freaking balloon at AF, just checking the time, balloon AF when I'm knitting with them and go 3 sizes too much bigger than what it needs to be. So I kind of use Ravelry to get my reviews of the yarn. And it just annoys me how like you can only pick, like if you're reviewing a yarn, you can only pick like 3 adjectives or something in the quick user face of the Ravelry. I think you can add a note to it in your stash, like never knit again, but Ravelry, come on. You guys it is so intense. Why can't you just add like a note section that we can actually review the yarn and we don't have to give like 3 adjectives? Like, can we give a reason why? Maybe that's like the teaching person in me who's like, point, explain, example. Always, always, always. Don't forget to pee. So the next thing that annoys me is it's kind of one I've picked up, I suppose, since coming onto social media with my crafting, and it's this fact that like you gotta be great at everything. You gotta be excellent at everything to be heard. You got to be excellent at photography skills. You got to be excellent at talking to the camera. You got to be excellent at editing. You have to be excellent at your craft, your actual craft, so you can show it off to people. It does get to me sometimes. But I just have to remind myself, like, Aoife, people want to see authentic you, so show authentic you. But then I'm like, okay, I'll be authentic. But then I see someone who's like gotten all these views and likes, whatever, and it's like because the photo looks class. It's like, it's guys, why do we have to have such big expectations for people? Like, I'm not trying to like show off or anything, but Scott has said to me, he's like, you know, every time I pass, when you're watching YouTube, you're always watching someone new. And I was like, yes, because I give people chances. I give people I give people with less views chances. And typically if the video has like 300k views or whatever, I'm like, nah, that person does not need one more from me, so I'm tapping out. Another crafting gripe that annoys me is especially if I'm doing it or if I'm watching a podcast where someone is talking about it, it's having multiple whips. I'm not talking about 3. It's fine to have 3, you know, it's fine to have 4, but if you have over 5 multiple active whips, please reconsider. You cannot, I'm sorry, you can't have 5 multiple active, more than 5 multiple active whips. Like, and I'm talking about active are things that you are like picking up regularly, weekly, and you're working on them. Like, that is insane. Just take a second, take a breath, and ask yourself, how are you feeling in that moment? Ground yourself, because if you have that many, I just feel like you spiraled, and it's a gripe in mind. I'm just like, whoa, calm down. How many do I have that's active? 1, 2 active. No, 3 active, because I have my Billy Zip, which I have to figure out. It has not been a great crafting quarter 1 for me, but it's been totally fine. I will get into it in a podcast. Yeah, so maybe it's a crafting gripe because I'm just jealous, but also it's also coming from a place of love, honey. Like, if you have more than 5, are you okay? Are you okay? Okay. The next one is the motherfucking Crocs pic. And excuse my language, but oh my Jesus, I get sent this picture, or it could also be a video. Sometimes it's a video. Nearly every 4 months, someone will send me this picture, and it's always different people. Sometimes it's the same person, and I'm like, do you realize you sent me that picture? Like, oh my God, are you okay? And it's the Crocs. You know, they had their feet extended, they're wearing Crocs, they have their like a stick or something, and they have the yarn on it, and they're knitting away, because I own Crocs, okay? And everyone just kept sending me that freaking picture, and now I'm getting to a stage where I'm actually going to say, stop. I'm putting a boundary in place. I do not consent to you sending me these photos anymore, because I can't deal. Like, it's like the dough one, you know, when someone was knitting with or were they crocheting with dough, and the person who was like eating noodles with knitting. Do you think, as a non-crafter, that your crafting friend has not already seen that photo 8,000 times? Like, I saw this really cool photo I wanted to show you. Yeah, you're the last person to find out about that, okay? It's giving... Like, I really, really appreciate you thinking about me and being like, oh my God, that picture reminds me of her. Just stop. The next one on my notes was like very detailed, so I will put like a little picture in here, and just you can see that, because I went to town on this. So this used to happen to me when I would like be knitting in a public space, maybe at work or something, or maybe with people who don't really know me or something, and I do get this comment like, oh my God, like I would just never have the time to do, or when they know I've knitted something and I'm wearing it, and then they go, I just would never have the time to do that. I know that's coming from a place of that you're respecting, you know, my time, but it's reading as I just can't prioritize my hobby, my time, and my life is so busy because I'm doing so much other important things. And I just don't know how you have that time, you know? Are you not doing something that's furthering yourself? Does that make sense? It's like when people are like, oh my God, I have no time. I'm so busy. Okay, whatever. I prioritize my hobbies, you know, that's important to me. And I feel like sometimes people, especially maybe in Ireland, I'm getting really like dangerous saying this now. But I just go for it. I just go for it. If you're not into sport, you don't have hobbies in Ireland. If you're not, yeah, because that's a really, really big thing in Ireland. And, you know, that's a hobby or an extracurricular activity or something extra that's accepted to spend your time on. And the socializing around the sporting event is accepted. But other things like setting aside time for crafting, or setting aside time for filming or video editing or something that's niche is not accepted, and it's not understood. And the comment is often, God, I'd never have time for that, or God, I wouldn't know anything about that. And it's seen as very dismissive and judgy, and it feels very judgy and dismissive being the person on the receiving end. So that's my big crafting gripe. It's just like, I don't give a shit if you don't have time for it. Good. You don't need to have time for it. It's my thing. Like, I have nothing else to say. This is spicy. And like, I could be really, not basic, but I could be very standard in saying like, oh, things that get my gripe are like petite knit, or things that get my gripe are like beige knits. And they do. And I said that on my very first podcast, even though I outed myself in saying I was doing a beige petite knit, which I haven't even looked at. It's not an active whip, it's like in the stash. Don't even get me started. I've kind of gone for things that people have said to me that they're getting to annoy me lately. I'm not sorry if I offended you. Not that way, but like, if you're offended, like, comment down, like, let me know. Let's have a discussion down in the comments about it. My final knitting gripe is something that I think lots of people would agree on, but wouldn't think about it, and that is the motherfucking tubular cast on. I think it's actually called the Italian tubular cast on. You're telling me I have to do this movement and know which stitch is knit and purl for like 200 stitches, and the whole thing is a wobbly mess. Bear in mind that I already hate a cast on edge, but the whole thing is a wobbly mess. And then I have to do two setup rows, and then there's a little gap, there's a tiny gap between where they meet in the round, and I have to come back later on and sew that gap together for it to look like a tube when the invisible cast on actually exists already. Shut the fuck up. Get the fuck out of here. So that's what I'm ending on, is the technique there. I hope you found this video spicy, and I'm glad I went out on that walk at the start of it, because I was away from the camera for a bit, so I was just like, oh my god, I know I'm gonna like get into the rhythm of filming again. The rhythm is gonna get you, so I'm glad I did that. If you liked this video, go on, sure like it, and give a little comment if you want to get spicy down in the comments. I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there, bro. I'll meet you there. I'll get you there. And without further ado, this has been Aoife from the Gemini Always Crafting podcast. And even though it's been quiet over here, I'm still always crafting. And I'm not selling anything because I don't want to.